You sit on Armed Services, the Intel Committee, but you also serve on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Other than going after Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito and Neil Gorsuch, is this committee controlled by the Democrats doing anything at all to look into the disparate treatment that's taking place in our country when it comes to the Bidens, when it comes to Trump, when it comes to the use of law enforcement?
No, Mark, absolutely not. Senate Democrats, and especially the Democrats in the Judiciary Committee, are like a phalanx of bodyguards surrounding the Biden administration. So we haven't had so much as a briefing on the treatment of Hunter Biden with kid gloves, trying to give him immunity for every crime he ever committed in a way that a judge couldn't even review and sign off on it, versus the treatment of Donald Trump, where you now have 3 rogue, zealous prosecutors who are prosecuting Donald Trump for what's really activity involved in a campaign. Core political activity at the heart of our democracy, something that happened in 2016 and 2020, yet they're only now charging him in the summer of 2023. Why is that? It's because they want the trials to be in the middle of the campaign next year. They didn't bring these charges 2 years ago. They didn't bring them a year ago. They brought them in a way that would ensure that the media would obsess about Donald Trump's conduct in the past, not about what Joe Biden is doing in the present and what he will do in the future. Yet Senate Democrats have not even lifted a finger to examine this. And for that matter, the double standards you see on ordinary Americans. I mean, remember, we had the Department of Justice sicked on parents who are attending school board meetings in Virginia, worried about the propaganda and filth their kids were learning. We had a pro-life activist in Pennsylvania whose home was raided early in the morning for the grave crime of singing a hymn outside an abortion clinic, who was later acquitted of all crimes by a jury of his peers. Yet you have a series of firebombing and vandalism of pro-life pregnancy crisis centers. Nothing whatsoever. You had left-wing street militias marching outside the homes of Supreme Court justices. Again, not even a single arrest until a left-wing hitman showed up outside Brett Kavanaugh's home to try to assassinate him. Again, silence from Senate Democrats.
And you know, Senator, they wrap themselves in self-righteousness and self-aggrandizement about how they're the ones protecting the voting system, how they're the ones who are concerned about somebody interfering with the process, interfering with the movement of one administration to a new administration. Tell me, when they were objecting on the floor of the House on January 6th in the past, in 2000, in 2004, in 2016, insisting that the votes in Ohio not be counted, the votes in Florida not be counted, insisting that Donald Trump was a Russian rube, he should never get the presidency. These are people who sat on the January 6th committee. These are people in leadership and so forth and so on. How do the Democrats square all that with their claim that they're the ones protecting this republic?
Well, Mark, they don't try to square it, because in their minds, the way you protect the republic is to elect Democrats. And the ends justify the means of electing Democrats, and especially of stopping Donald Trump. As you point out, the Democrats have only objected to the certification of the presidential election every single time a Republican has won the White House this century. Yet none of those Democrats face criminal charges for exercising what is, in fact, core First Amendment and political activity, something that anyone has a right to engage in. You don't have to agree with anything Donald Trump said about the election in 2020 or any of the lawsuits you filed. You don't even have to agree with him or have voted for him, Mark, to recognize that this is a very dangerous precedent, that this is a slippery slope that these rogue prosecutors have put us on. It's something more reminiscent of a country like Brazil or Pakistan to be pursuing not just a man who's a former president, but also the leading candidate for the opposition party to the party in power. Again, that is a very dangerous precedent, something this country has never done.